Let's go.
All right.
Hello, pod listeners. This is Steve. You've tuned in again. Wow. I can't believe you've tuned in again. This is episode 8. Episode 8.
Wow.
That's 8 weeks.
Wow.
8 weeks of listening to my dulcet tones.
Been good.
It's been good. It has been good. It's been fun. It's been fun. I hope you've enjoyed it. Well, you must have done, otherwise you wouldn't come back. Anyway, hello. Welcome back to an Unorthodox CEO. And we have a guest. We have a big guest. Not in the sense of wide, but a big guest. Probably my biggest guest so far. Before we go any further, I'm not saying any more unless you subscribe, like, follow, or whatever the platform is you're listening to, do it, because you don't want to miss an episode. You know, this is 8th, and it's time flies when you're enjoying listening to something you love. I hope you love it. Anyway, I'm Steve Pickering, and I am the CEO of Sussex Beds. And this podcast is all about my journey as a leader in retail and the challenges of growing a small, medium-sized enterprise business and working with family, which I know there's a lot of you that do. So, let's go. So. How many more times can I say so? Today I am joined by my biggest hero, the founder of Sussex Beds and many other businesses, and hopefully we will dig further into that. My dad, John Pickering. Welcome to the podcast. Hello, Dad.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Good to be here. Yeah. On this wonderful sunny day.
Wow.
Grey. In fact, he was supposed to be playing bowls, but it got manked off. So he decided to come and join us for a little podcast. So thank you very much for coming along. So I think to begin with, so I can put that down now because I've read all that now. Let's just have a chat. Let's have a chat. I think there's a lot of interest. Tell us about, and I'm interested too, your childhood.
Wow.
Yeah, thinking back.
Yeah.
I mean, family is a big part of our business, and obviously you come from a fairly big family, but tell us about your family and where you come from, really.
Well, yeah, okay. Yes, come from a fairly big family. I'm the eldest of 6.
6.
I said four sisters and a brother.
Yeah.
I had a very good childhood. My parents worked exceptionally hard to give us a lot of things in life that would never have been available. My father used to start basically his work, and he worked as a long-distance lorry driver, and he'd start at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we wouldn't see him till 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. In them days, the restrictions on driving weren't applicable, so he worked long hours. Sometimes he was away for 2 or 3 nights away a week. My mother, when my father got home, then went to work in a factory, which she worked evenings to get extras to give us a good lifestyle. We had holidays, which, all right, not like today's market where you're flying off to Gibraltar or Mauritius. We had holidays in caravan sites and holiday parks and the like, but we all had that holiday. My father, and so my mother, they worked very hard. And we had a good upbringing. All right. I had some fallings out with my parents, I think, which is what children do, but overall,
was there
it was
an
good.
incident with a frying pan?
That was, yeah. Maybe I deserved a few things like that. I was, more my mother than my father. My mother was very quick, and you had to get out of the way quick if she swung a saucepan round, a frying pan.
I don't believe that 1 minute from now. So, then school? How was school?
School? Yeah, I mean, I loved junior school. It was phenomenal. Mainly because of my life then I was very much into art, and when I got to primary school, I was pretty much allowed to do just art. I took over control of a lot of the works, kilns and all that sort of thing, and if I didn't like a lesson, I went back to the art.
Yeah.
So it was good, but coming to senior school, that was a bit different. It was a big shock that I didn't have the freedom that I had in primary school. But after the first year, you knuckle down, you get on with it, and I achieved what I wanted to do. Because I was the eldest of six, I wasn't able to do. My parents weren't able to afford for me to do A levels, and therefore I left school when I was 15, maybe 14. I don't know, 15.
Yeah.
And I went to work first of all in a butcher's, where I was working in a butcher shop, because I've been doing that as a Saturday job for 18 months, 2 years previously, and it was a natural thing to go and you got a job. And I did that for a few months. After that, I then got another job which gave me an extra £1 a week working in a fish shop.
Fish shop? So butchers, fishmonger?
Yeah, fishmongers.
Yeah.
And that lasted a few years, and I enjoyed doing it, in actual fact, going to the fish market, assisting in the buying the fish, and early mornings. And it was a very busy store, very busy. On a Friday, we'd be working from 7 in the morning till 5 at night, and there'd be 6 of us, 7 people serving. So it was a very busy store, very busy fish shop. But that's now gone, as is a lot of the smaller shops. It's disappeared. Yeah.
And from there?
From there, I then went into scaffolding. I got a job in a scaffold company, which was Mills Scaffold Company, and I was working at first in the yard, preparing the materials for other guys to put up and things like that. But after about 5 months, I managed to get on a training course and started working, putting scaffolding up. That was the start of a scaffolding career. And that continued really, not necessarily for that particular company, that continued until I was 28. So, and then when I was 28, in between that, I started started a scaffold company ourselves.
And that
myself
was your
and
first venture as a business owner.
Yeah, I started up working for ourselves scaffolding, which was Safe Scaffold, Hastings Limited. And
so how did starting your own that was your first business, how did that come about?
I was working for Mills Scaffold Company, and work had dropped off, and they were asking us to go to work in London and the West Country, where the company had business and work, but it wasn't particularly good, viable. So a friend who I used to work with and I got together, and we decided that we could do the work ourselves and start ourselves. And we went to the bank, and we got a contract for one of the local companies, building companies, that were building the tile kiln estate, and we got a contract with them to do the scaffolding on site. And from that moment on, it just blossomed. From working on sites to working in around the towns, putting scaffolding up on numerous buildings around the town.
So that was your first business?
That was, that was our first one. And then in 1978, I was having a slight disagreement with my partner, as he was then, in the scaffolding. He'd been poorly, bad back and things like that for several months. And I was handling everything, including the staff and contracts and things. And I asked him whether he'd either sell out to me, which is what I wanted, but he didn't want to. So I said, right, in that case, you buy me out and take it over. And he did. But between that happening, my father-in-law, that owned a small furniture retail outlet down in St Leonard's, was deciding to retire, was coming up for retirement, and he'd had an offer from a guy in London to take it over. And so my wife and I, which is his daughter, discussed it, and we matched the offer and took on the business as it was.
So when you took over Miles
Yes.
Furnishes,
Yes.
you had no experience in furniture, retailing, and just...
No.
No.
My wife did. My
Yeah.
wife had worked in the store for some time, obviously with work for her father.
Yeah.
But as myself, no knowledge at all
No.
of furniture. But I didn't know much of scaffolding when I started scaffolding, so
No.
it was the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that scary? Were you
Not
excited?
really. I think if you decide to do something, you do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's different today. In our time, you could go from one job to the other. You know, I've worked all my life. I've never had a day out of work. I've gone from one job to the next. I've not had time in between. You know, I finish on a Friday and I start again on a Monday. That was the next job we went to. Some of them I enjoyed. I mean, yeah. So yeah, but I mean, no, it wasn't. It's not. I wouldn't say it was frightening. No. You know, it's something that, because my wife worked in the store, we knew a little bit. She knew a little bit, and you learn from there onwards. Yeah.
Do you see yourself as an entrepreneur or not?
An entrepreneur, I think a person who takes risks is an entrepreneur.
So yes.
In some ways, yes. In others, really, I wasn't really interested in money.
No.
That wasn't my goal, and never has been. I never really did it for financial wise. I did it for my own or our own personal satisfaction.
Yeah.
I could have actually made a lot more if I really thought about things more. But as you said, I think I'm a person that does things offhand. I'll decide. As an example is when we look at stores. I mean, I went and looked. You know, I started the business in Miles. It progressed a bit further on to another store, and then it blossomed from there. But I just go along. I'd look at a store and say, "Oh yeah, we can get X number of figures out of that, I'm sure." And we say, "Okay, let's do it."
Yeah.
But there was never any actual what's the words? Never any actual research into the business of what you could actually get.
Yeah.
But
it was gut.
a gut feeling said it would be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's go
make
do
mistakes,
that. Yeah.
but overall, yeah.
And I think that's when I talk about Dad, I feel as though that was. I admire that because I don't believe I have that same solid. Let's do it. I want to know. Okay, let's get some facts. Let's get some figures. Let's research into it a little bit more data and a little less risk taking than you ever were. You just boom. Let's go do it.
But I think that
Let's
was
go
the way.
direction.
Yeah, well,
And
that was
I
the
love
way.
that.
Yeah, that was the way that it happened. I mean, the business itself. We started off a little furniture store, and then we progressed, and even the change we made from the furniture store.
Yeah.
My wife and I went to an exhibition in Salterforth, which was Silent Night at that time. We didn't really deal with them.
No.
But we went for a representative asked us to go, and we went on a trip, and we see a concept of selling beds, which they presented, and that concept was to actually display something on the floor, completely dressed, with all the trimmings and drapes and things like that, and it, to me, as an instant, that's something we could do.
Because there wasn't bed shops at the time?
There wasn't bed shops at the time, no. It was a retail furniture did everything. Specialists in beds was a thing that came along. And we were probably one of the first in the area that specialised in that product. We came back from the exhibition, and within 6 weeks, we had a shop that was specialising in beds. We opened on the 11th of December. I'm trying to think of the date, but I can't. I know it's 11th of December.
1981.
1981, there we are. Yeah. And we opened on the 11th of December, and whatever stock we had, we'd sold before Christmas. It was gone. It went mad. And we had trouble getting stock in to get what you call your traditional January sales. It was then.
Yeah.
Today, January sales is not really
The peak.
you don't get that peak so much. It's all moved around. The trade today is totally different than it was when we first started. And the concept of the way it worked was totally different.
Yeah. And so it opened in December.
Yeah.
So Steve, do you remember it opening?
I remember, yes.
Yeah.
I remember you setting it up. And I think we were up, because it was 3 floors, and you were sorting out stuff on the ground floor and the next floor, and there was me, Matt, and I think Sue. We were playing up on the top floor, and there was piles of mattresses, and we was launching off of one pile onto another pile.
Yeah, I can remember that.
Yeah, and this old-fashioned rope lift. Do you remember that?
Yes, there was. Yeah, it was dumb waiter. It was a dumb waiter, which was right from one floor to the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how old was I? I was 9.
Yeah.
I was 9.
Yeah.
So I do remember.
Yeah.
Was it exciting when you first opened?
Yeah, it was. I mean, very exciting. It was to get it open, and the success of how many sales we made in that period. All right, the product itself was a lot cheaper than what is today, and we weren't in what I call the high-end marketplace. It was in a budget product.
Volume. Yeah.
Yeah, but there was good response, very good response, and it was successful.
A long time before e-commerce and online and.
Oh, absolutely. Mobile phones, computers, Well,
there was it was paper and pen. Yeah. And who was your first team members? Do you remember?
First team members.
In the Hastings shop.
In the Hastings shop was my sister Wendy was one, Barbara Morgan, that was a very good friend, and Pauline Upton. There was 3 ladies really.
All friends and family.
Friends and family, yes, they were. And then later on, my sister Carol joined us. It was.
Fun times.
Yeah.
And Nan and Grandad. I remember.
Nan and Grandad. Well, my father-in-law stayed with us at Miles for 18 months when we first took it on, and then he retired.
Yeah, but your dad delivered.
My dad ended up coming along and assisting with deliveries. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's my father, because he'd retired, and he came along and assisted with deliveries with one of his friends. They used to potter along and just do the deliveries and
Quite happy.
Yeah, I mean at first I used to do it myself, and then obviously it was just too much to get.
I remember going out delivering with you.
Oh yeah,
after work.
I've done that.
Yeah. And these days or today we talk a lot about values and purpose of a business.
Yes.
Do you believe what was your purpose when starting Sussex Beds? What was it you wanted to do? Was it for the consumer? Was it for the,
I think it was just to achieve more of an achievement of doing something.
Provide value.
As I said, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't financial.
No.
We had a comfortable living, but to turn around and say I was going to make a fortune, never expected that, and never really.
So it wasn't
thought
for money.
about it. It wasn't money.
But you wanted to achieve what?
I don't know. I don't know if I can answer that. No. I think it was just contentment in my own.
What, happiness working with people that you want to work with?
Yeah, I love working. I loved being with the people that we were working with. We enjoyed our. Yeah. It was enjoyable, very enjoyable.
And customers?
Customers, yeah. We had a few bad ones. We had a few that was, you'll always, but there are times when we disagree.
But the truth is, I mean, you do care about.
Oh, I care. If a customer come in with a problem or anything, if they
You
came in
would
with an attitude, can you help me? We've got a problem. Then I would do anything to help them.
Absolutely.
But there were those that come in, I demand you do this or that, and I know my rights. And I used to say, well, in that case, you go and do them then. And that was it.
So different.
It is different. It's totally different today, But I do anything for anyone.
You do.
Asked in the right manner, which I think that is the same today. Virtually the same today. We do anything. We go out of our way. Stephen and the company does go out of their way to assist in any way they can.
Absolutely.
Always.
Yeah, always, yeah.
And I think that's what is at the heart of the business today, is ultimately it was always to help people and
make the right
do what
choice.
you can to, we are now all about trying to help them sleep better, but it was all about caring and if I take that word, which is on our wall as part of our values, I think that was the heart of the company right at the very beginning. Caring for your team, caring for people as a whole. Yes, you do have an occasional person, but they're very few and far between.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I could probably count 5 on my hands over the period that I could actually say that I was. But overall, no. I mean, lovely people. We had a good response, and I said we treated people as I would like to be treated.
Exactly.
And that is the truth of it.
That's the true heart, I think, of the business.
The customer is, you've got to treat them as you would like to be treated yourself. And that's what I said. If people come in and ask me in a manner that, we have a problem, I'd do anything for them, and I think the company today will do the same thing.
What do you love? What motivates you? What's important to you?
I think the family. My family. Yeah, I think the family is important, and I think family should be important. They come before anything.
Family.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously, Mum. And people that know us know that Mum suffered with MS for when.
Well, it started back in 1988. That was really the start. I used to do running. I used to do half marathons and 10Ks and things. And my mother I said to her, why don't you just come out and join us? Let's just jog along the seafront. And she came out and she seemed to keep tripping. And she felt embarrassed. So I said, well, anyway, we made a point to see a doctor, and the doctor just said, we were going to have to send you to a neurologist, which we did, and then discovered that she got MS. She was okay in herself. Well, even today, I mean, if I'm truthful with you, she's never ever complained. She wouldn't like it, she'd like to say that she hadn't got MS, but she's always taken an attitude of trying to be happy in her own self, and whenever people are around people. She's never really, what's the word? Felt down because of it. She does, but she tries to put on that brave face, and I admire her for that. And of course, as it progressed, because it's a progressive MS and not the type of MS that is very quick and then stops and then you get a little better. She's got a progressive MS which deteriorates over a period of time, and hence, 15 years ago, we decided she was struggling to walk, even with sticks and walkers, and eventually she goes into a electric wheelchair. That gave her mobility that she couldn't have on her own. So, but even that, I think she regrets that. But she was in a state that she couldn't. She was struggling to walk, and it was embarrassing for her because of the way that she dragged the leg, and that's why the chair was the next stage.
But it gave her freedom.
It gave her freedom.
Yeah.
It gave her freedom and all the things that, to be able to get about, which a lot of people today, that is where their mobility comes, is by a mobility chair or a scooter and things like that, which gives people, which they wouldn't have had.
So Mum having MS and obviously deteriorating. When it was 2014 really, I took over as managing director at the time.
Yes.
And you took a step sideways. Was that to do with Mum, or what do you think made you
I think it
made
was
that decision?
Well, 2014 was the time, yes. We had a problem within the company of funds and things, and obviously mother was getting a little bit struggling, particularly on her own. Although you say 2014, it was actually a couple of years later that I actually decided to retire fully.
Yes.
But yes, passing over the responsibility and to run the company with yourself, Matt and Sue, I decided it was time. Mainly because you wanted to build the company in your own manner. You had an ideas, and as we've said, is the way that I ran the company was run with myself and two others and assistants, two ladies, and it was time for it to move into the next stage, which is what you and Stephen and Matt and Sue, by going on training courses and learning about business and progressing it further, which is what I don't think I could have done.
Still a very brave thing to let go of your baby, of your company, and have that ability to go, look, to take it further, I have to step sideways and let new ideas and things come forward.
Well,
I think a lot of people struggle with that.
No, I didn't struggle with it at all. It was something that I'd really thought about a long time ago, and I think it stems from when I first bought the Miles Furnishes in Bohemia Road from my father-in-law. That the business itself could have quite easily been kept in his family by passing over to his son, which was Anthony. And Anthony had worked in the store with him for quite a long time, and then they had a bit of a falling out. And we always felt that it would be passed over to him when he retired. And wasn't going to happen, hence mainly because the offer that he'd had, and he was in the process of accepting it. And I always said that when it came to it, I would prepare to just pass it over, and that's it, end of story. So that was really where it stems from. So we'd already planned in my own mind that whatever the case would be, that we would pass it over, because the family is the family, and that's the important part. And so, yeah.
Did you, obviously 1981 and through the 80s, did you ever imagine that all three of your children would come into the business, and and now grandchildren? Did you ever envisage that, or never really thought about that?
No, he didn't. You yourself obviously started doing Saturday week work in one of the stores, and I think you enjoyed it, and it was the first start of it, really. Matthew, obviously, I don't know whether Matthew actually came along and worked prior to him leaving school or not, if I'm being truthful. I can't remember. But, the next stage was
If you want to find out, we will be introducing Matt in another episode.
But, I'm very pleased and very proud that they have.
How does it make you feel with all of us and your grandchildren now?
Great. I mean, particularly as it was when it was sort of you and I, and we were living at home, and we weren't allowed to discuss anything in the business at home when the family was there, because they wouldn't like it. And now, obviously, it's a different ball game. I've got
just to paint a picture here. So, Dad and Mum live. So we all live together. It's me, Paula, Dad and Mum. We live in the same house. Mum and Dad's got an annex, and we're connected by a utility room.
Yes, you
are. So we used to have dinners together, and when we started talking business during dinners, they would get all
Hufty.
And that's reversed.
So we used to do it when we used to go dog walking in the morning.
Yeah, we did. We'd keep to the dog walk and away from the dinner table. Yeah. But now it's
the reverse. We now got four of them in next door talking about it, and I'm not involved. So,
Do you miss it?
Do I miss it? I miss the camaraderie of the people that I was work with, the people that worked for me. Because they weren't just employees, they were friends, and I think that's what I miss. And also miss the customers, because I loved selling to customers. On the shop floor was where my life was. I wasn't a person that loved being in an office doing paperwork. And I was very, very bad at that. Usually leave everything to the last minute and pass it over to somebody else, because I didn't like that. But certainly the actual on the shop floor, selling, displaying products. We used to shift the shop around every other week. Everything was changed to a different position. Today, that's not the way that they operate.
No. Although I listened to that, and Grace asked me a few weeks ago. She said, "What job do you like best?" And probably it's display. I love that. It doesn't happen so much now where you shift around a shop. But I remember, not many. It's quite quiet. Let's have a shift.
Let's have a shift.
It just doesn't. And I used to love that too.
Yeah, I loved it, to change things around to a different place. And, just to make it look different.
Yeah.
We used to obviously change the shop windows deliberately to give something different in the windows, particularly where you got better footfall. So
What do you think was the toughest point of being in business?
It's probably the toughest point about business is getting the right staff, and also peaks and troughs in business. You'll get times when things are very good, and then things die away, and you've got to find. Let's just, for example, overdrafts come into things, and suddenly that overdraft is taken away by the bank, and then you're struggling to think, well, how am I going to cope with this? So it's funding, really, finance. Finances, I think, is the most difficult part of the business. Is working systems to keep finance flowing. Yeah.
I can't ever remember seeing you in all those years really down or stressed.
No.
Were there points where you were?
There were times when I was extremely worried, yes, about things, particularly around the between 92, 91, 92, 93, 94, very, very difficult years, and to be able to constantly keep your funding going and things, so yes.
It's funny you mentioned there, more so than 2008 to 2012 when, things got...
No, I don't think I worried. No, I didn't. No, I think that didn't worry. I think the worst part was back in the 90s when... But then I remember by the 2008, 2000, you were involved.
Okay.
Whereas I
back in shared more that burden from 2008.
In the 90s, it was basically myself, Jan, who worked with me, and Rose. They run pretty much them. We run it with the three of us. They were there, and whereas once we got to 2008, yes, there was a crisis there, but it wasn't so bad, I don't think, as the 90s.
No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but there are times when things have been good, things have been bad. And you have to think that is business. You get times when things are good and times when things are bad. And you have to make sure you don't overspend in times when they're too good, because you can very quickly,
There's a little top tip there. We'll come back to that in a minute. Cool. Okay. So, I've got some quick-fire questions. They've been prepared by Victoria.
Oh, right.
So, are you ready?
They're not going to embarrass me, are they?
No, not at all. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah, fire away.
First quick-fire question. We need a jingle or something. What was the first product you ever sold? Can you remember? Yeah, I guess at Miles, what would have been the first product you sold?
It would have probably been a table and chair set.
Table and chair set? Josh said that. That was his first. We didn't sell tables and chairs, Josh.
No, well, we did at Miles. We did a lot of kitchen tables, chairs, and things like that. And we tried to. That was one section that we did quite a lot of with. Yeah.
Okay, tables and chairs. Nice. Yeah, maybe we need to bring them back. Right, second question. If you were still working in the business, which role or job would you want to do?
Sales.
Sales? Yes. On the sales floor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not customer service?
No. Certainly not customer service. Well, I don't think you would like me as customer service.
Okay, we'll move on quickly. What was your favourite part of the job?
Sales.
Selling
to the customers.
Selling
to customers, the
people
bit that I love. People. Yeah.
Okay. Question number 4. Okay. Why is there a dinosaur outside our Bexhill shop? People in Bexhill will be eager to hear the answer to this. The times I get asked, why is there a dinosaur outside your bed shop?
Because I like dinosaurs. No. It's because at one particular time we were going to do a promotion of monster sales on beds. And therefore I wanted something in the store, something there to store as a monster, to create monster bed sales.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was it. And we did have 2 of them.
Okay, just again to paint a picture here, because there's probably people listening that have never been to our Bexhill shop. We have how big is it? It must be 12 foot.
Yeah.
I'll
12.
put a picture on the screen.
Okay, we'll put a picture. Yeah, so a 12-foot fiberglass dinosaur that wheels in and out every day,
Sure.
and it gets dressed up at different parts of the season,
Lynn
and
and
it's been Lynn and Julie, and it's been there since 1993.
Yeah, it was
1993, and it is a little bit of a landmark
People love it.
in Bexhill. Yeah.
Oh yeah, people come from a long way to see,
Yeah.
particularly show the children, photograph in front of the children. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
there you go.
Ironically,
Boys and girls, this is the person that put the dinosaur outside the shop.
Ironically, at the time when we purchased it, because it came from the Philippines, where it originally came from, and I wanted a bigger one. There was a 26-foot high one, and I couldn't afford it. So
Thank goodness for
I
that.
had to settle.
Lynn and Julie would be relieved at that. Okay. This is the most important. This is the question number 5.
Yeah.
Who is your favourite child?
I'm not going to answer that. Probably my daughter.
We'll cut that out. Okay. Question number 6. What was your proudest moment while working in the business?
I don't know.
No.
Oh, you got me there.
Yeah.
Proudest moment.
Yeah. Or proudest moment of the business. Yeah.
I suppose it'll go back to the original opening of Hastings store.
Really. Yeah.
You know, if you've got to achieve what we achieved there was so dramatic and so different than something we'd had.
No. Do you know
that was
what?
around.
I get that, and I think we had a very similar when we opened Caterham.
Yes.
Because you always have big expectations of opening new shops.
Yeah.
And you think, wow, this is really exciting. And there's not many that really deliver to that expectation.
No.
I think obviously Hastings when that first opened.
Yeah.
And for us, modern day, it was Caterham that was just crazy busy.
It was very busy, yes.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, that's the end of our quickfire question round.
Right.
Now, each week I do a tip of the week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, as my hero and the founder of Sussex Beds, I guess, is there a tip that you would have for anyone? And maybe you touched on it earlier about riding the ups and downs of business. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you would say to anyone that's out there, either started a business, in business, that you would look back on and go, I would do this?
As a tip, I would say don't be afraid of doing something. If you've got an idea, don't be afraid of doing it. Just do it. What have you got to lose? Life is too short. If you've got an idea, do it.
Cool. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's the end of this week's episode. I have my list of bits now I have to read through because and even then I still get it wrong, and that's a wrap. So remember, click that like button. I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have. I'm sure Dad will come and join us again in the future. Click those like buttons, follow buttons. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, on YouTube. Subscribe. It would be nice one day.
What are those?
It's the medium that we're going out on. Yeah. If I'm honest, I have no idea. So yeah. We'll say yeah. And next week,
Yes.
we're going to be talking to my brother, Matt. Now, he's not a monk. It's my brother, Matt, who's our Chief Administrative Officer. So he heads our finance and our IT department. And we're going to talk to Matt. You're going to hear about Matt, his loves, his likes, his being within the finance department, as Dad touched on earlier, is probably one of the most challenging.
It is the most difficult
roles, stressful, and worrying, and we're going to hear how Matt copes with that in work and out of work, and how he deals with that stress. So Matt's joining us next week. Remember, episodes drop every single Wednesday. Don't forget to tune in. Otherwise you'll miss it. You don't want to miss it. And if you want more unfiltered business talk, you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Unorthodox. Every time at Unorthodox CEO. Thanks for watching. If you're listening in the morning, good morning. If you're listening in the lunchtimes, enjoy that sandwich. And if you're listening in bed, good night, sleep tight, and goodbye. Bye.
Bye.